put you back in a very reminiscing mood.
Yeah, I don't like anybody's mood.
You'd be happy to know that you were in San Antonio's seat.
Oh, is that right? Okay. What was that? Was that the Republican side before?
Yeah.
The hearing will please come to order. The Senate Select Committee on Intelligence Activities opens its public hearings today with an inquiry into a case in which direct orders of the President of the United States were evidently disobeyed by employees of the Central Intelligence Agency. It is the purpose of this hearing and those which shall follow for the next 2 months to illuminate the need to make certain in the future that federal law enforcement and intelligence agencies perform their duties in ways which do not infringe upon the rights of American citizens. The committee has not held public hearings prior to this time because of its concentration on charges that the CIA has been involved in assassination plots directed against certain foreign leaders. In that investigation, the committee has taken over 8,000 pages of testimony, interrogated nearly 100 witnesses, examined a vast array of documents, and compiled a record on the assassination issue alone that compares in size to the entire investigation of the Senate Watergate Committee. Because of the serious damage that protracted public hearings on such a subject could do to the United States in its relation with foreign governments, the committee chose to conduct these hearings behind closed doors. But the committee intends to publish a full and detailed report of its findings within the next few weeks. It is the right of the American people to know what their government has done, the bad as well as the good. And we have every confidence that the country will benefit by a comprehensive disclosure of this grim chapter in our recent history. In examining wrongdoing by such agents today, as a member of the Foreign Relations Committee, I am fully aware of the great value of good intelligence in times of peace. Without it, an informed foreign policy could not be conducted. Without it, nuclear arms controls could not be policed. Without it, the United States would be left groping in a dangerous world. At the same time, we must insist that these agencies operate strictly within the law. They were established to spy on foreign governments and to fend off foreign spies. We must know to what degree they have turned their techniques inward to spy on the American people instead. If such unlawful and improper conduct is not exposed and stopped, it could, in time, undermine the very foundations of freedom in our own land. So the committee intends to hold public hearings, not only on domestic abuses of the CIA and the FBI, but on improper activities of such other government agencies as the Internal Revenue Service, the Post Office, and the National Security Agency. Later in the fall, such opening remarks as he might care to make. Senator Tower.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have alluded to, and I think it's important for all of us to keep in mind, the comprehensive nature of this committee's task as mandated by Senate Resolution 21 in this vital area. Since the end of the Second World War, this nation has haltingly and with no small degree of ambivalence sought to ensure its survival by recognizing and legitimizing the role of intelligence in clandestine activity. Of presidents, congresses, and our judicial system. In the discharge of its responsibilities, this committee has avoided and will continue to avoid the temptation. The intelligence agency advised the committee of its discovery of the toxins, which are the subject of today's hearings. The agency was acknowledging its responsibility to affirmatively contribute to the solutions that we all seek. In making this matter a subject for public hearing, it is my hope that we will. These principles are an inherent part of the very fabric of intelligence. They are not and may never be fail-safe. Our task is to examine how well we...
Thank you very much, Senator Carr. Now, Mr. Colby, if you will please stand to take the oath. Mr. Stevens, if you would stand too, in the event that you will have any testimony to offer, I'll administer the oath to both of you at the same time. Do you both solemnly swear that all the testimony you will give in these proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Mr. Colby, I understand you have a short opening statement, and I invite you to read it at this time.
I do, Mr. Chairman. I have a prepared statement which has been distributed. I will omit certain elements of it to save a little time, but I think I can cover the main points. Mr. Chairman, this hearing typifies the difficulty of modernizing our approach to intelligence in America. We are biological and chemical warfare. In the later years, the activities dwindled to the point of simply maintaining a stockpile of agents and delivery systems for possible agency use. From its outset, the project was characterized by extreme compartmentation or a high degree of secrecy within CIA itself. Only 2 or 3 agency officers at any time were cleared for access to Fort Detrick activities. Though some CIA-originated documents have been found in the project files, it is clear that only a very limited documentation of activities took place. A major early requirement of the agency was to find a replacement for the standard cyanide L pill issued to agents in hazardous situations during World War II. This was the basis on which eventually we discovered the shellfish toxins. The only application of this toxin was in the U-2 flight over the USSR in May 1960, during which Gary Powers carried such a device concealed in a silver dollar. In the Powers case, the grooves of the drill were filled with shellfish toxin. He obviously did not use it and was not instructed to do so. It was offered to him to provide him with an option. The Powers flight was the only time we are aware that the toxin was provided for operational use, although the L pill was made available for earlier flights. The primary agency interest was in the development of dissemination devices to be used with standard chemicals off the shelf. Various dissemination devices, such as a fountain pen dart launcher and an engine head bolt designed to release when heated, appeared to be peculiarly suited for clandestine use. Available records do not indicate that all specific items were developed exclusively for the CIA, as work on similar devices was also done for the Army. A large amount of agency attention was given to the problem of incapacitating guard dogs. Though most of the dart launchers were developed for the Army, the agency did request the development of a small handheld dart launcher for its peculiar needs for this purpose. Work was also done on temporary as chief to inform Fort Detrick personally that destruction of CIA materials should take place. He did so, but did not include the shellfish toxin, then in CIA hands, in his instructions. Discussions with Mr. Helms, Director of Central Intelligence, and Mr. Karamessinas, the Deputy Director for Plans, in 1970, have established that both were aware of the requirement that such material be disposed of. They recall that clear instructions were given that the CIA stockpile should be destroyed by the Army and that in accordance with presidential directive, the agency should get out of the BW business. With the discovery of the shellfish toxin this year, a complete inventory of the vault in which it was found was taken. The inventory consists of a stock of various materials and delivery systems accumulated over the years, including other lethal materials, incapacitants, narcotics, stimulants, hallucinogenic judge, irritants and riot control agents, herbicides, animal control materials, and many common chemicals. The small size of the vault, about 8 by 10 feet, and the few shelves limit the extent of this stockpile. The materials are for the most part, the residue of a number of different CIA programs. These involve CIA's efforts to keep a close watch on emerging technology, in this case pharmaceutical technology, to ensure that we did not encounter an unanticipated threat from hostile intelligence services with which we could not contend. We also wish to capitalize on new advances which should substantially assist us in our efforts to collect foreign intelligence or in a wartime situation. The narcotics in storage related to CIA's overseas efforts to collect intelligence on the narcotics trade to help in countering it. We have also supplied tear gas and mace to our officers overseas for use in defensive situations where firearms would not be appropriate. The threat, as well as the promise posed by newer types of drugs, particularly the hallucinogenic drugs, made at least exploratory research on them essential. You will recall our concern over the possible role of drugs in the apparent brainwashing of American POWs in Korea, and the haunted eyes of Cardinal Mindszenty as he confessed at a communist trial. I might add that we believe that a drug was administered to one of our officers overseas by a foreign intelligence officer within the past year. Those responsible for providing technical support to clandestine operations felt it necessary that they understand the ways in which these drugs would be used, their effects, and their vulnerabilities to countermeasures. In pursuing such concerns as these, many different materials were obtained and stored for provision to contractors who did the actual scientific research involved. One of the major results of these investigations of the CIA has been to impress upon our employees and all of us involved in intelligence the fact that decisions about our programs must be made in the light of public appreciation of modern intelligence, better guidelines for its proper activities, and better supervision externally to stimulate better supervision internally. With these, I am confident that such episodes as the shellfish toxin will not be repeated. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Colby. Mr. Schwartz, our General Counsel, will commence the question.
Mr. Chairman, I only have 3 areas of questions that relate to marking 3 documents. Mr. Colby, at the bottom of page 4 of your statement and running over
Predictability of results to be expected under operational conditions.
there are some differences between that and what you had in your statement, and in particular, Mr. Colby, there's no mention to defensive purposes, is there?
No, but I think the overall purpose was both for offensive and defensive.
In addition to the shellfish toxin, Mr. Colby, as you identified in your statement, you found other materials in the lab. Would you turn to Exhibit 2, and Senators, this is at tab G of your books. Mr. Colby, is an inventory prepared out of the CIA's inventory furnished to us of all the lethal and incapacitating agents found in the building.
Right.
Do you accept it as that?
I do.
There are items on it, are there not, in addition to the shellfish toxin?
There are indeed.
And there are lethal items which are in violation of the presidential order in addition to the shellfish toxin, are they not?
I think that gets into a technical question about whether they are technically involved.